Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So I'm going to talk about this article, Islamic WorldView, essential part of an Islamic education. And so first of all, what is a worldview? Worldview is the foundations of our thinking. These are the pillars on which we construct the rest of our thought. So these are the big questions that we face, like who created the universe? Who created us, human beings? What is the purpose of my existence? How should we behave towards each other? How should we organize society? Like what should a family be like? Or should there be a family? And what is a neighborhood like, mahalla? And what is cities and nations and all of these things. So when you are educated in the West, the Western education doesn't actually directly answer these questions. They are never actually, nobody asks who created the universe. You have no course, you have chemistry, mathematics, but no course on who created the universe. So this is an indirect way of answering the question. It says there's this question, either it doesn't matter, first of all, because we never discuss it, so it doesn't matter. If it was important, then we would discuss it. So this is not an important question, but if you probe more, then you will find out that, oh, it came into being just by an accident. So similarly, who created us? Nobody created us. What is the purpose of existence? There is no purpose. You can choose whatever you like. How should we behave? It's entirely up to me. How should we organize the society? Entirely however we choose. It's determined by social consensus. So all of these answers are radically different from what Islam says. Islam says that Allah Ta'ala created the universe, Allah Ta'ala created us. There is a purpose of my existence. We are here for a test, and we have to behave correctly. If we do, then we will be rewarded. If we don't, then we will be punished. And there are many rules about families and neighborhoods and societies which are given in many books, even nations and how they should behave towards each other, treaties, everything. Lots of thousands of years of literature. But none of this is ever discussed in the Western education. So you are taught implicitly that these questions don't matter, or that these questions are not important, or that we can just decide among ourselves. So now, when Muslims receive a Western education, then they have conflicted minds. And on the one hand, they have been taught Islam. On the other hand, they are being taught in their Western education anti-Islam, and they are very confused. They don't know what is correct and what is wrong, because although you see, it's not that, you see, Western education is very insidious. It is very subtle. It doesn't actually say, no, Islam is wrong, Allah Ta'ala doesn't exist. If it did that, then we would reject it. So the way to poison the mind is to make it sugar-coated. So the teaching is done in such a way that you never learn that you are being taught things which are anti-Islamic. And so no one mentions that the purpose of our life is to enjoy life. But it is part of the hidden message within the teachings of the Western education. So this message, so this is why the conflict exists, because both of these messages are present in the minds of Muslims. So this leads to the project of Islamization of knowledge. Many people have realized this problem, that Western education teaches us lots of wrong things. But so how can we fix this? Because this poisons the minds of our students, and they will grow up thinking anti-Islamic thoughts and behaving in un-Islamic ways. This happens even if they have a strong Islamic background, even if they are making namaz and everything. So how can we prevent this problem? How can we solve this problem? So a madrasa education is one possible solution, but madrasa education teaches you about Quran and Hadith, but it doesn't tell you how to behave in modern world. It doesn't tell you how the Quran and Hadith applies to what we will do in the Islamic economics class. So it seems that today all the useful knowledge is the Western one, because it tells us how to live, it tells us how to get jobs, it tells us how to do everything that we consider important. The Islamic knowledge doesn't seem to be relevant to our daily lives today. So this led many Muslims to think of the project of Islamization of knowledge, that we have to take the Western knowledge and we have to Islamize it. We have to take the poison out of it and we have to put it within the Islamic framework. This university is an outcome of this project, that we need to take Western knowledge and we need to combine it with Islamic knowledge, and that way we will get people who will not be. But this project has been mostly a failure. This is because people who launched this project thought that Western knowledge is neutral. It is like, learning how to build a table or learning how to use technology, many things, chemistry, mathematics. These things don't seem to have any values. They don't seem to have any conflict. That's what I'm saying, that when you receive a Western education, it doesn't seem that it is denying the existence of God. It doesn't seem that it says that we should just enjoy life. It doesn't seem that it says that the purpose of life is to make money. This is not part of the books that you are reading. But this message is there, and especially in economics, this message is direct and explicit, that the purpose of life is the enjoyment of life, getting the maximum amount of pleasure, and this is rational behavior, and every intelligent person will only do this. So because people did not understand, people who were doing Islamization of knowledge, they did not understand that the Western knowledge is actually conflicting with Islamic knowledge. So they said, and like in this university, they said that, okay, on the one hand we will teach Samuelson, and on the other hand we'll teach Fiqh al-Mu'amalat, and we'll teach Arabic. And once you know both of these things, then you will be that will be Islamization of knowledge. Similarly, in similar project, some people said, and let's run an Islamic business. So what we have to do is study the fiqh of the business, and we have to get LUMS MBA. But the LUMS MBA teaches you that the whole object of a business is to make profits. And so the fiqh tells you how you can make profits in a jaiz way. But Islam teaches you that the purpose of business is to provide service. So this is completely different. So you earn profits in order to be able to provide service. This is a completely different way of thinking. Yani, let's say you set up a business of selling bread, and you say, okay, I'm going to be very Islamic and I'm only going to distribute this to the people for free. And you will run this business for 1 day or maybe 2 days, and then you will run out of money, and then you'll say, okay, let's do something else. That's all I could do. So if you sell the good for a price and you get the money, and you get money to pay yourself, to pay the employees, to give them some chutti, then this business can run forever. So on the surface it looks like it's the same as the Western business, because both people are charging money for the good, and both people are making profits, and they are having salaries, and they are paying their employees, and they're having vacations and everything. But the difference is one of the heart. Now if the person who is making profits and he gets some wheat which is a little bit bad, he says, okay, this will give people a little bit of a stomach ache, but doesn't matter, I'll make my profits. So he says, go ahead, sell it, because he might even mix something with the flour to get more profit. But if the person is saying that my object is to feed the people and provide service, and money is only something that I earn because I need it to provide the service, then he will never do that. So there is a big difference according to the intention. And there are many other differences also. So the question is that The so what we have is that the Western civilization and the Western education teaches us some stories about the world. And the stories about the world that it teaches, the Western education, is that all the world was in darkness. And in the 16th century, the Western people suddenly became, they were also in darkness, they were in Middle Ages, Dark Ages, and then suddenly the sun of reason shone and rised in the West, and the people in the West started thinking logically and rationally for the first time, and then they became very intelligent, and then they discovered science and technology and governance, and everything good that is known to man was discovered by the West in the course of the 16th to the 18th century. And then they looked around and they saw that the whole world is in darkness, and so they went to spread the beautiful things that they had to the rest of the world. This is called the white man's burden. This was not, they didn't go out for the benefit, for their own personal benefit. Actually, it was a difficult job for them. They had to leave the comfort of their homes and go out into the jungles and the wild lands. But they did it because it was their responsibility to take the beautiful thing that they had and share it with the rest of the world. So that is the narrative that we are taught, and many people learn to believe this. And of course, this narrative is also very strongly in conflict with the Islamic narrative. So again, Muslim students are carrying both of these stories in their heads, because the Western education teaches them this story, and the Islamic education teaches them exactly the same story, but starting in 1400 years ago with the coming of our Prophet. So now, both of these stories, you can't get an Islamic education by teaching both of these stories. You have to take the Western story and reject it, say that this is wrong. So for that purpose, you have to create a counter narrative. There is a narrative called Byaniya in Urdu these days, and there is the counter narrative which says that no, that is wrong, and the truth is like this. And this is what is the crucial thing that is missing. And when you come to the Islamic worldview, if you want to create an Islamic worldview, the important thing that we need today, and that is not in existence, and that is the job that you guys will have to do, is to create the counter narrative. This is what we are trying to do in this course. Create an Islamic economics which is a counter narrative to the Western economics. So the standard definitions of economics say that Samuelson is true, and in addition we have to add Islamic elements to this. So the counter narrative, so that accepts that West invented everything correctly and properly, and we only need to make a few changes according to the Islamic worldview. So basically this accepts the European narrative that the West made a huge amount of progress, they developed lots of knowledge and sciences, and all of this is a great thing, and this is the West thing, and the only thing we can do is make a little bit of change here and there. So the counter narrative is that no, all of the things that they have developed are harmful, and they are causing damage to mankind, and we have to get rid of this garbage, and we have to come up with a new theory which will actually save mankind from the disaster that has been created by economic theory. So this is the counter narrative. Now in the context of the Islamic worldview paper, what we are doing is that what they have said is that the West made a lot of progress. We have to oppose this by saying that no, the West has declined morally. They were started out being Christian and they had good behavior, and slowly they lost all the standards of behavior, and now they are behaving like barbarians today. They kill and destroy entire countries, and they don't feel any regret or shame. The ambassador Madeleine Albright, she was asked on TV that we have killed 500,000 Iraqi children. Do you think that this is a suitable thing to do for attainment of our policy goals? She said, yes, this is a difficult question, but yes, I think it's suitable. So they have lost all sense of morality, that they think that it is okay to kill children if you want to control oil. It's okay to destroy a complete country if you want to control. So they have destroyed Iraq, Libya, Syria, and many other countries just because they have the power. So the law of the jungle is what they believe in today. So in addition, they are telling stories that we are the champions of human rights and everybody, we care for everybody and we think everybody should be given freedom and they should be allowed to live like they did. So exactly when Woodrow Wilson pronounced that I am for freedom and I believe that I don't believe in colonies and I believe that people should have the right to live as they want to. So the leaders of Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh, Ho Chi Minh, he went to Washington to say that, okay, we are colonized by the French, please help us. So they didn't pay any attention to that. So this was, what they say is very different from what they do. So this is again another story which has to be told as part of the counter narrative. Instead of actually, so the story that we need to tell is how much zulm they have done to the Muslims in the process of colonization. And there is a huge amount of material which is suppressed, not available easily in the standard histories which we are taught. So we have to bring this out to show the reality of what happened. Like, you see, if you think about Iraq, the Americans said that what we are going to do is the people of Iraq are being oppressed by an evil dictator, so I'm going to liberate them. We are going to bring them democracy. We are going to bring them, the world is being threatened by chemical weapons and we are going to save the world from this. This was what they said, but what they actually did was something completely different. So we have to differentiate between what they are saying and what they're actually doing. And this is the problem, that most of the Muslims have been deceived by what they say. That's like this economics, it's all a deception. What is the reality of economic theory is very different from what is being said in the economic theory. So you have to learn what is being said and what is the reality. And this is something we have done. So one of the things is to expose what they have done. Then we have to tell also the counter narrative. We have to tell the stories of Muslim heroism, how the Muslims fought against the colonial rule. So there is this story of Tripoli, Algiers, Aljazair, and the freedom struggle against the French. And then there is many other stories. Some good movies even have been made. Lion of the Desert is one good movie which shows how the Muslims behaved. In addition to that, we have to tell about how the Europeans actually destroyed the whole world. They destroyed the civilization in Latin America. They plundered Africa. They killed millions of people, and they took other millions as slaves. And basically, Africa is still suffering because they don't have a stable society. In our case, you see, India and Pakistan, we were saved from this because we had lots of rich resources, and so we could provide them with the resources, raw materials, cotton, etc. Africa didn't have any resources, so they just took the people and enslaved them. So basically, the story that the Europeans are telling about how we have made progress and how we have got good governance and democracy and we have human rights and everything good, this has to be replaced by the story about how the world has slipped into darkness and barbarianism, and the whole world the planet is at risk of complete destruction and death because of the greedy corporations are making profits, and they don't care if they're destroying the environment and polluting the rivers and making the air unbreathable. This doesn't matter. As long as they can make dollars, that's all that matters. And this is what economics is also teaching. So in part of the counter narrative, we also have to discuss, we have to understand, all right, what were the causes of Muslim decline? Why did we Muslims get left behind? So the standard narrative, what the Europeans are saying, is that you got left behind because of Islam. The Islam is such an obsolete and backwards religion that if you follow Islamic teachings, you can never make progress. And this is the message which is poisoning the minds, and many of our students who are studying in modern schools, they listen to this and then they say, okay, Islam is an obstacle to progress, so we should drop it. But the question is, how did Islam create progress for 1,000 years and then suddenly it has become an obstacle to progress? So this is actually because what the West did, how they made progress for 300 years, it's by complete barbarianism. They went and conquered the world and they killed the people and they destroyed the nation and they took all the wealth and they looted it. So there are many books which are written on the topic of how did the West become rich and how did the East become poor. So they talk about how they are hard workers and we are lazy, and how the white people are intelligent and the black people are stupid, and so on. Many other stories. But they never mention the simple thing that they actually conquered the world and they looted all the riches and they destroyed the societies and they took them. So if one person robs another person and becomes very rich and the other person becomes poor, there's nothing much to explain. But in fact, the books that are written do not mention this factor at all. They mention some other things about what is the cause of underdevelopment of Pakistan. It is never mentioned that we had 3 years of colonization which has caused a lot of damage and which still has effects. Instead, they talk about how we are lazy people, our culture is bad, we are corrupt, and we are this and that and the other. So we have to understand still, the standard theory is that we fell behind in science and technology and the West has a superior culture. And so once we understand this message, then we say, okay, the way to correct the problem is to learn science and technology and to follow their culture and to adopt their institutions. Since they have banks, we must also have banks, and whatever they have, we must have. That is the way to progress. So these are the wrong messages which come from the story that is being told in the West. Now, some people, some Muslim groups disagree with this and they say, no, this is not true, that actually the reason is that we have gone away from Islam. In this, there are many subgroups. There are some people who say that the first priority is that we must have Khilafah. Without Khilafah, there is no Islam. There is a version of this which is due to Maulana Maududi and many other thinkers like that the first priority of Islam is to create a state. And once you have an Islamic state, then only you can have Islam. So Islam doesn't exist without a state. And so if we are going to revive Islam, the first thing we need to do is to capture the state somehow or the other. Actually, this is a Hegelian notion. The Hegel philosopher said that basically it is the nation which is the unit of history and individuals don't matter. So unless you have nations, this is also part of our becoming impressed with the West. There is the mission of Tabligh and Dawah, that the main central mission of the Ummah was Amr bil Maruf and Nahi anil Munkar, and the Ummah has put aside this mission, and that is why we are in our current bad state. And there is the Salfi point of view, which says that Ummah has become trapped in bid'ah and shirk, and the Islam that we have has become corrupted, and we must cleanse this and purify this Islam in order to get back to the original Islamic teachings. There are people who say that the Muslim Ummah has lost the ability to innovate. So there was this stagnation of knowledge in which the gates of Ijtihad were closed and our minds were also closed to the new knowledge, and that has been the cause of the decline of the Ummah. There are some people who say that we stopped doing jihad and we stopped doing siyasa, which is one of the ulum of Islam. We just confined the deen to the masjid, and in fact Deen is in the world, and it has to do with jihad, and it has to do with siyasa, and these things have to be brought back into our lives in order to revive the fortunes of Islam. And there are many hybrids. That is, you take, mix and match some of these theories which we are mentioning. So actually we have to put all of this together, and some work has been done. So the most important work is by Sayyid Abul Hasan Ali Nadwi, What the World Lost Due to the Decline of Islamic Situation. So this is the beginning of the counter narrative which we needed. It provides a picture of the darkness in the world before Islam. Then it provides a discussion of the revolutionary ideas of Islam. It said that all races are equal, men and women are equal, everybody has a responsibility before God. And it taught us how to live in this world without being part of this world, that we are members of this. We live in this world, but we live for the akhirah, we live for God. The things of this world are not important for us. And people in the Muslims learn to be the living Quran, to know how to apply the Quran to every moment of our lives. And this is the essential missing skill today, that the Muslims don't know how to use the message of the Quran to deal with modern problems. And this is actually what Islamic economics is also about, how we can use the teachings of Islam to operate in the economic dimension of our lives. This is what nobody currently knows how to do. So how can we resolve the conflicts that we discussed, that some Muslims are saying Khilafah, and some people are saying state, and some people are saying Bid'ah, and some people are saying Dawah. So what we can say, you see, the Islamic methodology, and this is very important, is one of tatbiq, that we try to take everybody on board. So we have 4 mazahib, but nobody says that I'm the single one who is right and everybody else is wrong. We say that yes, my path may also be right and the others are also right. So just like that, we say yes, Khilafah is part of Islam and we need, and we say that siyasa is part of Islam and we need it, and yes, Islamic state is also necessary, and yes, Amar bil Maruf and Nahy anil Munkar is part of Islam, and yes, Bid'ah is harmful, and yes, Islam, jihad is part of Islam. So all of these things that people are saying, all of them are necessary. So there is no conflict, there is no battle, we are all working together for the same goal. This is very different from Western education. We see Western education teaches us binary logic. Something is either true or false. If it is true, I will teach it to you, you have to believe it and you have to accept it. And if it's false, then we don't discuss it. So in Islam, opposite things can both be true. And we have many examples going back to the Prophet ﷺ, that he sent a group of people and he said that make Maghrib when you reach the destination. So this group was going, but they were delayed very much in their start. So when they were in their way, halfway or somewhere, and they said the time for Maghrib is about to go. So one group said that, the Prophet ﷺ, he didn't know that we would be so late, and he expected that we would reach this place by the time of Maghrib, and that is why he said this. And he did not mean that we should make Maghrib when we reach there, if the Salat will be Qaza. So then this group said that we will make Maghrib here. But the other group, even though they had time, opportunity, everything, they said no, the order of the Prophet ﷺ is to make Maghrib there, and we will just make Maghrib there. So even if it is Qaza. So they did that. So when the party returned, they reported to the Prophet ﷺ that, oh Prophet, some people did this and some people did that. So who was right? He said both were right. So now they are in opposite positions, but both are right. So this is the teaching of Islam, that we create compatibility and harmony between opposite positions. So we accept all of these groups that are working in Islamic. They are all correct. They are all working together for the cause. Islam is a huge deen and it is deep as the ocean. And there are many things that we need to do in order to. We need to fix the family. We need to fix the courts. We need to fix the economic system. We need to fix the political system. We need to fix everything. So some people are working on politics, let them work on politics. Some people are working on education, let them work on education. Some people are working on social reform. Some people are working on bid'ah. So everybody is together and they are all working together for the Islam. There are only two things which are causing problems and conflicts. One is the question of priorities. Somebody says that my work is more important. The other person says that no, my work is more important. So we can let that go. We can say that all work is important. And different people are suitable for different types of work. So let the person do whatever he likes to do. Somebody is very good at jihad, he's very strong. Somebody is very good at medical science, so let him learn medicine. Now these two things are opposed to each other. We cannot say that let one person do both of these things at the same time. So we should not say that, we should not go and say, oh look brother, you are working for the Khilafah, but you should be working for social welfare. No, let him, or you're working for jihad and you should be in medicine. Or you are doing zikr but you should be studying the books. Let the zakirin do their zikr and let them specialize and let everybody benefit from them, and let the fuqaha learn their ilm and let everybody benefit from them. Both are needed. You cannot have ilm without zikr and you cannot have zikr without ilm. So we let everybody work, and we do not say that no, this is the most important thing and everybody must drop everything and come and do this. So then this will create problems, because then lots of important work will not get done. So different groups needs to work in different dimensions, and all dimensions must be done in an Islamic way. And there is one more thing is, there is prioritization. Is this more important? That is more important. That we cannot decide. Only Allah Ta'ala knows. He will weigh the amal on the day of judgment. We can do mashwara and we can do what is most important for us, but what is important for us may be different from what is important for the other person, because different people have different capabilities. And okay.